What's up guys, Retro Gaming Guy here. So today in this video, we're going to actually test out the Kinhank 3TB Hyperspin external hard drive right here. So this is a plug and play hard drive loaded with what's advertised as over 80,000 retro video games. So I'm super excited to see what this has to offer, but I'll be honest with you guys, I'm a little bit skeptical as to whether this is actually going to have truly over 80,000 games on here, or if it's going to be completely littered with tons of duplicates. I have tested out a wide range of game drives in the past. Usually they are littered with duplicates, so we're going to find out here. So we're going to actually tour through what this has to offer. We'll go through a bunch of the collections on here. We'll see what collections are included, and of course test out the games as well so we can gauge whether or not they work the way that they're supposed to or not. So let's go ahead and dive into it and test it out.
All right, guys, so here we are booted up into our Hyperspin Attraction 3TB external hard drive, loaded with, and it says right here in the bottom left corner, 93,211 games. So that's absolutely massive. I'm going to call BS on that right out of the gate because I'm so used to these plug-and-play game drives and what they include, and they are almost always loaded with duplicates. So that's a massive number. I'm not buying it, especially for 3 terabytes on here. I think that we just have tons of duplicates. So let's jump into the all games list, and we're going to find out very quickly because everything in here should be in alphabetical order. So if there are duplicates, they should be lined up in a row. Let's see what we've got waiting for us. So here we are, everything's populating in with this arcade cabinet sort of theme. We get a video preview of the title on there. We should get the title of the game up there at the top, but I know that this is not the title of the game, so it looks like they're populating in the collection it belongs to into the marquee, which is kind of strange. I've not seen that sort of version, but I suppose you could do what you want there. It's probably a settings adjustment in how everything was scraped and laid out here, but let's go down the list and you can see how the game titles populate in on the right hand side. We get a nice logo there, which is great, but we're seeing duplicates right out of the gate here. We're only on the first title, so we're seeing 88 games over here time and time again. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different versions of 88 games. They're all the same version, I'm pretty sure, but they belong to different collections. So it's put in here multiple times, and it counts it every one of those times. So when you figure, all right, that's 7 or 8 versions of the exact same title, you have 93,000 plus titles on here. You can see where that number would just get out of hand really quickly because, you know, it's counting the same game so many times over. And as we scroll down, we're seeing that time and time again here. Just lots of duplicates. I mean, this one right here, not familiar with this title, 99, The Last War. There's a lot of different versions here, and it's the same version over and over again. So, I mean, I would venture to say that there's well over probably 12 different titles or 12 different versions of the same title there. So, yeah, that 93,211 or whatever it was total games on here, we could throw that out the window. It's not accurate. So, just a lot of bloat on here, in my opinion, but it does populate in here nicely. I will give them that. It's scraped nicely. So when I say scraped, I mean we have the box art or cover art. We have the video preview. We have, you know, background graphics, logos for the game as well as the collection it belongs to. So it is nicely put together in that regard. But you know, lots of duplicates. So it makes for combing through this, you know, being, you know, kind of a convoluted mess because we're just having to go through so many duplicates. And we do have some titles here like Twisted Metal. It populates in just the logo, but it doesn't give us video preview, doesn't give us any sort of box art, cover art, graphics of any kind for the collection, just nothing. It's just a really disappointing look to this particular title. And we have that time and time again on here. And it seems like it's kind of random, which, you know, just gives me a sloppy indication for this sort of setup here. And then we have 10-yard fight here. 1, 2, I believe that's 2, even though it's not scraped. Yep, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different versions of the same title, and then we get into another one here. This one is a little bit different. That's why the logo differs. This is the 10-yard fight Japanese version, whereas this one, I believe, was the 85 edition. Yeah, so they are different, but there's multiples of each one. So let's back out of this and keep it moving, but definitely something to be aware of. We have a favorites collection here, so you can add your favorite games into this for easy access. We have recently played. It's going to pull 50 of your recently played games, and again, just populate it into this collection. Basically, it's like your browser history, but for this specific game drive. We have settings, we have control settings, we have credits on here, contact information, because this comes from Kinhank, so you can contact Kinhank through all of this. We have exit, so if you want to safely get out of this hyperspin drive, this is the best way to do so. And then we get into our collections. Now, what's interesting with the collections is we have title collections like Alex Kidd here, for example, or Altered Beast. It's going to pull all the games that belong to that specific collection in here, and it's going to be for a wide range of games. So I think that kind of just makes it to be a bit bloated, in my opinion. Like, if you're a big Altered Beast fan, I could see then having this collection populate in, but I think you're going to want to go through the settings if you do get this drive and kind of dumb it down a little bit and simplify it, because not everybody's going to want to have to comb through. Like, I'm never going to play Angry Birds. Nothing against Angry Birds. It's pretty cool, but I'm not going to play it on like a game drive like this. I'd play it on a phone. So that's not a collection that I want to have to comb through every time I want to locate what I actually want to find and play on here. So I would hide that one. I would hide, I'd probably go in and hide Asteroids. Cool game, but I'm not going to play it. So I'd hide that collection. Atari 2600, 5200, 7800. These are collections, you know, that are specific to these game consoles. There's tons of games in here. They're all different games. So these make sense to have here in the rotation, in my opinion. But if you're never going to play them, you could hide those as well, just to simplify your setup. And there's a lot of Atari, you know, collections here. Jaguar, Jaguar CD, Atari ST, Atari System 1 and 2. And then we get into like developer collections, stuff like that. Attack of the Clones, Bally Astrocade, for example, regular Bally. So it's got a bunch of Bally classics in here, 71 games. For me personally, it's just another collection I have to comb through to locate what I'm really looking for. So I would hide, you know, this, but, you know, you can customize that again. So I'm not going to knock them too heavily, but it's definitely a lot to comb through right now. We have Wonder Swan Color. I personally don't play those. I would get rid of those. Not get rid of them, but I would hide them so they're not, you know, another collection I have to scroll past to find what I'm looking for. But I do like, you know, category collections like this, like baseball games. You can explore, if you're into baseball games, you could find a wide range of baseball games. You can see right up here, we have some Neo Geo, we have some Super Nintendo, we have some N64. It's going to pull your favorite baseball games from a wide range of collections, which is just a cool way to kind of explore things. And it does give us a count for each one. Like, this is a basketball collection, so I imagine we're going to find a lot of NBA Jam in here and stuff like that. 74 games. We have Batman over here. So I'm a huge Batman fan. Love the Batman games, 67 games. And I'll just jump in here so you guys can see. I do like the way it populates in. So you can see how everything comes together. And it is scraped nicely. It's laid out very nicely as well. So I'm not going to knock that. Definitely a thorough job here for sure. But we do have duplicates. But these duplicates belong to different collections. So I'm okay with that. But it's still, you know, it makes for a lot to have to comb through in here. So we'll back out, keep it moving. We have beat 'em up games. So we do have category games. We have like Simpsons games on here, which you can see. Boxing classics, bowling games, bootlegs. What else do we have? Capcom collections, Capcom System 1 through 3. Sony ZN1, Sony ZN2, Z80. Stuff like that makes sense. Casino games, there's over 1,343 casino games on here. It's just a lot to comb through, and we're only on C right now. This is in alphabetical order. So we have ColecoVision, we have Commodore 64 on here, Amiga CD32, CD-TV. We have just a lot of stuff. Contra games, Crash Bandicoot games, Data East games, Burger Time games. And again, we're not far down the list at all. So it's a lot to absorb here. And it's a lot to tour through as well. So I don't want to shout out each one. We'd be here, you know, till the end of the week. But Konami's in here, Laserdisc, Zelda-specific games. That's a popular one, so I could see that being in here for sure. Light gun games. This is a collection that I think is great. So 409 total light gun games. Let's take a quick peek in here. So this is a little strange that we have some titles here that, and I definitely don't consider Alien Thing to be a light gun game, but interesting how that populates in. We consistently have logos everywhere except this title, Alien Thing, Expert Edition, where it's populating in just a video preview and then a screenshot over here on the right-hand side. So, and then again, to touch on the fact that we do have those duplicates, we have Alien 3 The Gun, great game, but we have it in here 3 separate times. We don't need it in here 3 times. So the duplicates are a little bit out of hand. Let let me see, are these different versions? Yeah, they're different versions, but at the end of the day, they're really not. They're the same damn game. So, yeah, I'm not crazy about that. Area 51 as well. We have 3 versions of that, plus the duo version with Maximum Force, which I love Maximum Force, but, we don't need 2 versions of it. We don't need 3 versions of Area 51 by itself. 1 would suffice. So, yeah, you can see how it definitely gets out of hand. Beast Busters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different versions there. Same game at the end of the day. So, yeah, duplicates are just rampant on here. We have MAME. We have MAME 2-player games, 4-player games, 70s games. So we don't only have MAME, we also have sub-collections of the same collection. So just, bloated for sure. And we had light gun specific games. Now we have MAME light gun games. So is there crossover? Hell yes, there is. It's just, it creates too much to comb through. Mario Kart games. That's a collection that obviously a lot of people love Mario Kart, so that makes sense to have that. You'll find your Double Dash. We'll jump in here and I'll show you guys rather than telling you guys. But Arcade GP's in here. I will say I tried this game and I could not get this to work on here, but Mario Kart Double Dash works. We have the N64 Mario Kart in here, and that one, obviously the scraped data there is the Japanese version, but the actual ROM is the USA version. So just a slight discrepancy there with the logo they chose, but, it is what it is. We have Super Mario Kart here, and it looks like that is, so we have the American version and the Japanese version. At the end of the day, it is the same game. We also have Classic Edition here, so that one is a little bit different, but you get a feel for it. We have Marvel vs. Capcom collection. This is going to include 13 games. So Metal Slug's in here, MSX 1 and 2. Now Xbox is in here, and I did test this out. 88 Xbox games. Comb through here a little bit because this is definitely one I actually tested out, Dynasty Warriors 5. Because this is on Windows, this as well as Xbox 360, they do work. I won't say that they're perfect. That's the emulator, though. I'm actually playing and touring this today on a really, really, really high-end gaming PC that is capable of everything emulation related. So when you have setbacks, unfortunately with these collections specifically, they are due to the emulators themselves, not to the specs on my PC here. So still a great assortment of games here. Love Legends of Wrestling 1 and 2. Lots of good stuff here. A lot of Madden games. Medal of Honor Frontline's a good one. Metal Gear Solid 2. Metal Slug 4. Mortal Kombat. Some Sega NBA 2K2. 2K3. NBA Street. Can't go wrong there. Need for Speed. Need for Speed Underground. Prince of Persia. Sonic Heroes. Sonic Mega Collection. Sonic Riders here, just lots of good stuff, and a ton of Star Wars games too. So definitely a stacked collection. Let's go into Xbox 360. So this is going to be a much smaller collection, just 14 games. Now I did test this out. You do have to enable the emulator. So the first couple times I jumped into these games, it kicked me back out, and I realized there was a little pop-up that I had to enable that actually fell behind this screen. So took me a minute to figure that out. Once I did, these games do work. However, they aren't perfect. And again, it's not because of the specs on my gaming PC. My gaming PC could play the latest, new release games very easily here, the one that I'm using currently anyways. So Xbox 360 is just very limited. The emulator is not great, still being developed on a regular basis, so it's not going to deliver a seamless experience. And I'll show you guys some demos. I'll actually demo Gears of War 3 after we tour through everything here, so you guys can see exactly what the experience is like. It's not perfect, but it is very much playable. Just not super smooth, but I do think it'll get better little by little with the emulator. So we'll back out of this collection. Again, 14 titles in there for Xbox 360. We have Midway games, but we then have the sub-collections of Midway, which I just think is overkill. Mortal Kombat specific collection, bunch of Namcos, PC Engine, TurboGrafx, Super Graphics, N64. So N64, we have 312 games. So pretty stacked collection there. We can jump in here and see how it populates in. It's put together very nicely. Probably jump into Mario Tennis, test that game out, just so you guys can see how well it actually performs. But really nicely put together collection here. Don't have any complaints. It looks like every single game is scraped as well. Definitely a lot of sports games on here, I will say. NHL, NBA, NFL, but all of your classic Nintendo titles for N64 as well, like Mario Kart 64, Mario Party, all that good stuff. So definitely a nice collection here. Again, that included 312 N64 games. We also have the Nintendo 64 European one that has 241 games. So that's cool. We also have the 64 disc drive console with 8 games over here. We have arcade. That's going to be 104 games, which, you know, it's a Nintendo arcade. I didn't see Nintendo above it. I was going to say that's really a low number for arcade, but Nintendo arcade, NES over here, 30 games. Oh, that's NES Classic Mini, so 30 games there. We have Nintendo DS over here with 2,098 games. We have NES. This is the actual NES, 889 games. So got all of your classic collections, Game Boy Advance hacks, Game Boy Advance over here, Game Boy, Game & Watch, Family Computer Disk System, Family Computer. We have GameCube, and how many GameCube games do we have? Actually, this is color, 597, that's accurate. GameCube, we have 108 games. We'll take a look at GameCube here so you guys can get a feel for everything. So definitely have the classics here, the Donkey Kong titles, which are great. We have Gauntlet Legends, or excuse me, Gauntlet Dark Legacy, very similar to Gauntlet Legends. Great game there. Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, Harvest Moon, Killer 7, Kirby Air Ride, all the Zelda games, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Kart Double Dash, Mario Party, Power Tennis, Super Baseball. Lots of great stuff here. Metroid games, both are included. So we'll back out of this one. Keeping it moving here, we have Sufami Turbo, we have Super Game Boy. Super Game Boy is going to be a lot of crossover between that and, of course, Game Boy Color, but it is what it is. Now, Nintendo Switch, we just have 2 games here. Which ones are they? We have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and then we also have Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. So just 2 titles here for Nintendo Switch, which, you know, I'm sure they're trying to stray away from that. We have Nintendo Wii over here with 20 games. We could take a peek at what those are. So looks like the Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. We have the House of the Dead 2 and 3, which I love that. We have some Zelda in here. Some of the Olympic games for Mario and Sonic. Mario Kart Wii. Mario Party. Power Tennis. Lots of good stuff. Keeping it moving, though, we have light gun games once again. Just one, so, like, definitely don't need a collection with just one game in there. That's stupid, in my opinion. Wii U, we have 8 games in here. We'll take a look at those Wii U games. So we have Mario Kart 8, which we'll probably try out. Super Mario Brothers U, Super Mario 3D World for Wii U. Super Smash Brothers, we have Yoshi's Woolly World, we have Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, some Zelda in here, lots of good stuff. WiiWare we also have, and that is 403 games for WiiWare. We have this Xbox here, which is just Xbox Official Magazine, and that enables us to actually go into these different magazine issues, which, you know, for me, I think it's cool that it's included. I don't think I'd ever actually go through it, but still cool nonetheless. Open Bore over here, Beats of Rage, 14 games there. We have Outrun specific games, which they do have the PS3 version, which I'm a huge fan of, so probably check that out. We have Pinball FX3, just 10 tables in there. Pokemon, so for the Pokemon gamers out there, you have Pokemon, but you also have the Hacked collection as well, so that's pretty cool. Puzzle games, racing games, Thomas Wave I see up there, Scum VM, awesome PC games there. And what do we have for Scum VM? Because hopefully we have the Indiana Jones games. We do. We have Fate of Atlantis. That's my favorite. Doesn't appear that we have the... Yeah, we don't have The Last Crusade, but Fate of Atlantis is my favorite. Full Throttle is another great one as well. So cool options there. We have all of our Sega collections. So Sega as just a blanket classic collection here. We also have Dreamcast and 212 Dreamcast games. One of my favorite retro consoles there. So lots of good stuff. Game Gear, Genesis Hacks, Genesis Mini over here, which, you know, do you need Genesis Mini and regular Genesis? Probably not. That's what I mean. It's just very bloated here. But we'll keep it moving. Master System, Sega Mark III, Mega Drive. Lots of different options here. Sega Model 1, 2, and 3. Sega Naomi 1 and 2. Nomad. So, yeah, I mean, just totally loaded here with all of your Sega collections. Neo Geo's in here. Neo Geo Pocket, Pocket Color, Sharp 68,000. Specific collections as well, and I believe we saw The Simpsons before too. I'm not sure about that, but we have PlayStation. We have PlayStation Japanese titles here, PSP Minis games. We have some other PlayStation specific collections like this one. We have PS2, and how many PS2 games do we have in here? 190 games. We'll take a quick little comb through PS2. And I do see a lot of crossover between this actually and Xbox, which is interesting for sure. In fact, is this not the Xbox collection? Hold on a second now. I want to double check that. So we had how many games here? 190 for PS2. I feel like that's the exact collection for Xbox, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to go over and check that out because those look like literally the exact games. $88 games over here. So it's not all of them, but yeah, I mean there's definitely a lot of crossover here. That's interesting. Let me jump into Legends of Wrestling 2. I want to see what the button configuration is because I want to make sure that it's not just rerouting us over to PS2 and we're jumping into Xbox. That would be pretty sketchy if that's the case. So let's just see what the button configuration looks like here on screen. Look at that. Those friggin' weasels. Okay. So, and I'm going to get the hell out of here just so we don't get any copyright issues with tracks because it was playing some Saliva there. Okay. It's just rerouting us over to the PS2 games when we go into Xbox. So that is why there's so much crossover there. That is shady as hell. I don't like that one bit. Okay, we're going to keep it moving here, but that's a solid mark against them because why do that? So you're just padding an entire collection and basically saying it's Xbox when it's in fact PS2. So that makes sense as to why the game performs so friggin' well. It's not true Xbox. Okay, shady. So PS2's fine over here, 190 games, but you also have the 88 games over there. And I'm not saying they're all going to be PS2, but there's 88 games there that you also have over here. So again, you're having those duplicates, but now you're duplicating other collections and misplacing, games. That's not right. PS3 over here, 10 games. Let's see what we have for PS3, and there's going to be no confusion here. These are going to be straightforward PS3 titles. Not the greatest collection. Like this one doesn't excite me at all. Outrun, online arcade, awesome game. You'll never hear me complain about having Outrun on here, but like Pixel Junk, side scroller, not that exciting. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game. I'm sure some people like it. It's not my thing. Yeah, these games are kind of weak in my opinion. Virtual Fighter, Final Showdown is a good one. Not going to complain about that. Afterburner's cool. Big Sky, not familiar with. Dragon's Crown. Yeah, it's really not that exciting of a PS3 collection with the exception of Outrun and Virtua Fighter. So, yeah, I'm not too crazy about that. PSP, we have 97 games here. I'm not a big... I like PSP, but I don't know that I'd play it on a game drive. I like PSP on, like, handhelds. I never play these games, in this sort of setup. But cool games there. Pocket Station, Space Invaders Collection, Super Mario Collection. I could see those being, valid. Super Nintendo, a couple different versions. And we're winding down here. We're in the T's currently. Tekken games, which is cool. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games. So some of these collections make sense, and I'd like to have them populating in. I'm a big wrestling fan, so wrestling collection is definitely something that I would use. 211 games is too many, so I know we're going to find duplicates in here. I'm very well acquainted with this, and look at that right off the bat. WrestleMania. How many times are we going to see that in here? Let's see. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. And these might be different versions, like that's MAME. This one over here, okay, that's also MAME. That one's also MAME, and that one's also MAME. So, yeah, so much for that. I was going to say this was, available on home consoles as well, but they have all MAME versions. So I tried to bail them out there. It didn't really pan out, did it? And there we go. This is what I was talking about. So this is the same game, but for Sega Saturn. So I'm okay with duplicates in that case, but we have 2 of them nonetheless for Sega Saturn. So, yeah, they're making it hard for me to stand up for them. We have it again over here. This one, though, is for Super Nintendo Europe. That's okay, I suppose. We have 2 more over here for Super Nintendo and for Sega Mega Drive 32X. So, yeah, that's a lot of versions. Now, WrestleFest, only available on arcades. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 over here. 6 different versions of the exact same game. So, again, you're just seeing my point here about the duplicates. And WWF Superstars 2. 1 time, 2, no, that's the first version. So for the first version, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different versions of the same title. So yeah, way too many duplicates, and we're back to our all games list. So I would say that 93,211, I don't know what the true number would be. There's just way too many duplicates to even speculate, but I would say it's way, 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 way less than that number. Probably like, I don't know. We're seeing an average of about 7 duplicates per the majority of these titles. It might be logical to take that number and divide it by 7, and that might get you closer to the true count on here. So that's unfortunate, but let's dive into some games. Let's test out the performance and, at least verify that they work the way that they're supposed to work on here. Because at the end of the day, we do still get access to a lot of titles, just not that true amount that is being advertised, that 93,211, just not accurate. So let's test out some games.
All right, guys, so we tested out this Kinhank 3TB Hyperspin drive, and I have to say, first off, it is a high-quality drive. It does seem to be very reliable, and I will also say that I scanned this for viruses, malware, and spyware, and nothing was detected on here. So that only means that my drive here does not have that on here. Now, this was sent to me from Kinhank, so you know, it would be pretty stupid for them to send something with viruses, malware, or spyware to a YouTuber knowing that they're going to review it in video. So I recommend definitely scanning your drive. Make sure there's nothing sketchy on here. Preserve your security. Anything that you're going to connect over to a network, you want to make sure that you scan it, whether it is a hard drive from Kinhank, a hard drive from somebody else. Anything that has been set up by anyone else, even mini PCs, gaming PCs, you want to scan them just to verify that there's nothing sketchy hidden somewhere on there, because you want to make sure that you're safe and secure at all times. So again, just make sure that you scan it once, scan it twice, scan it as many times as you need to, just to make sure that you're safe and secure on your end. So let's talk about what the experience was like on here. First and foremost, I think that it is just overloaded with way too many collections. Yes, it offers a lot of games on here, which is great, but it's a lot to comb through. It's a lot to have to scan through to locate what you're truly looking for. So it's just over bloated in my opinion. Now you can go in here and you can customize what collections are visible, which is very cool. It would be a time consuming process to do that because there's so much on here. Like for me personally, I don't need like a Midway collection. As much as I love Midway games, they're one of my favorites, in fact. I don't need a specific Midway collection. I don't need a Simpsons collection. I don't need, all of these specific developer collections. It's just overkill for me personally. I want like N64, I want PlayStation 2, I want Xbox, or well, we're going to talk about Xbox. I want Xbox 360. I want all of those game collections, true game collections to be present on there, but I just don't need all the million sub collections. So it just ends up being a lot to comb through. Now, in terms of the game count on here, they advertise over 80,000. There's in fact over 93,000 that populated into our all games list, but it is in fact littered with tons and tons of duplicates. We saw that there were 7 or 8 duplicates for the majority of titles on here. So keeping that in mind, you could, in theory, take that 93,000 plus games, divide it by 7, and that would probably be closer to your true game count on here. So it's unfortunate that there are so many duplicates, because you don't benefit from there being, 8 versions of the same game. It just doesn't make any sense. It just takes up a lot of space, and it makes for an attractive, sort of marketing approach to something like this. If you can advertise, wow, over 80,000 games on here, but in fact, their true number is way less because there's just so many of the same titles. Like we saw, about 8 WrestleFests. We saw, like 6 or 7 of the WWF Superstars, which are great games, but we don't need that many versions of the same thing. Whether they're Japanese or US, it's the same thing in the end, in my opinion. So, if there's the same game on multiple platforms, like a Saturn version, a Dreamcast version, or a MAME version, and then an N64 version, a PlayStation version, that's fine for me. But to have the same version of a game for the same platform just makes no sense. So in addition to that, there's one other major issue here, and it's that there's 2 major issues here. One is that you don't have everything scraped on here. There are a lot of titles that don't have video previews, logos, or in some cases the logos are on the wrong title. So, that's, I guess, not a huge issue, but it is something worth mentioning here. But one major issue is the Xbox collection. I was super excited to dive into Xbox, and I looked through the game list there, and it was a pretty impressive list. And then when I went to PS2, I started thinking back to the Xbox collection and thinking, hey, there's a lot of the same titles here. So I launched the game in Xbox, and sure enough, it brought me right over to the PS2 emulator. So the Xbox collection is actually a PS2 collection, but they're just categorizing it and marketing it as Xbox. So I think that's super sketchy and unfortunate, because Xbox emulation, it is hit or miss. But why try to say that there's original Xbox on here when in fact it's just PS2, and you already have the same games in the PS2 collection anyways? So again, it's just another case of them trying to double down on, a larger number of games than they truly offer, and a wider range of games than they truly offer on here. So I think that's pretty sketchy. Now, at the end of the day, all things considered, would I recommend something like this? It's tough to say. I personally don't think that I would. I personally wouldn't want to get something like this. I don't think that I would have a great experience on here. Yes, there are some good games offered here. N64 is a great collection. Dreamcast is a great collection. PS2 is a great collection. Hell, Xbox is a great collection, even though we've already covered it in the PS2 collection because it's the same thing. But PS3 kind of sucks. There's only 2 titles in the PS3 collection that I'm into. Nintendo Switch is super limited. Wii U is pretty good. So it's just hit or miss. It just depends on what you're looking for, I guess, and what you're trying to do. If you're trying to pull ROMs from something like this to bring over to your own setup and to make yourself a more well-polished setup, then I think that this could be a good option. It's not priced outrageously. You do get a good quality external drive in the end. It is a hard drive, not an SSD, so it's going to be a little bit slower with load times and stuff like that, especially because it is jam-packed full of so many game ROMs. But you could take that approach, get this, create your own setup, or fine-tune this one, but I think it would be a lot of work to actually get this to where I think it would be a well-polished setup in the end. So it's just, you know, personal preference there, I think, but me personally, I would stay away from it. I'm just not a big fan of how it is. I think it's a sloppy setup. I don't think that, you know, there's enough attention to detail here from Kinhank. It just, honestly, it just screams cash grab for me. I think that they're trying to market a high number, way higher number of games than what they truly offer here, and collections that they don't even offer, like Xbox, for example, again. So that's my take on it, but let me know what you guys think of this Kinhank 3TB Hyperspin setup here on an external hard drive. Is it worth the money in your opinion? What would you do if you did get this? Would you create your own setup from it, or would you try to polish this off a little bit better to make it a little bit easier to navigate? In terms of the playability on here, everything that I tested out did work very well, so I will, you know, say that. Xbox 360, not the smoothest gameplay by any means on Gears of War 3, but I'm using a super high-end gaming PC. In fact, it's this shoe-shaped one, the Sneaker X back here that I was using today. I'm in the process of doing a in-depth review video with that, and I decided to, you know, throw this into the mix there, test it out. So the limitations that you see with Xbox 360, that is due to the emulator, not due to the specs on the PC. So take that into consideration as well. You know, it's not a knock against Kinhank. It's just, you know, where we're at with 360 emulation. It's not, you know, super high end yet, but it is improving. So let me know what you guys think in the end. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy the content, please give me a thumbs up on the video. And of course, hit subscribe to stay in the loop for all future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.